Hi, I'm Dr. Chrissy O'Malley, and this is Better Science Teaching. What I'd like to show you today is how to get started on writing the informational part, the introduction to your science fair paper. So I've borrowed this technique from the English department. I learned it when I was a student, and it's something that I have found really helpful for helping myself to stay organized and making sure that I keep track of my references and make it easier to be able to use them when I want to. So what we are going to do is create an annotated bibliography. This is going to be just a simple way to keep track of summaries of the research that we've read that's related to our topic. So I'm in Microsoft Word. You could use Google Docs for this. That would be great. That would be a perfectly reasonable application to use. I just prefer Word, so that's where I set things up. So what I'm going to do to create an entry for this is to first get a citation for a paper. So I'm going to use a paper that I know. So and I just pulled up some ones that I wrote. This one actually is PDF. This is my dissertation. But what I can do, I showed you this in the literature search video, is I can go in here and I can choose a citation from my students. My students should be using APA because that's what we use for science. Some schools use MLA, but you guys might be familiar with that one too, but we're going to stick with APA for my class. And I'm just going to go and copy that and then take it over to my Word document. And I'm going to put the citation right in there. It's kind of the heading for my entry. I like to tab in for the next part just so that it's really easy to see those breaks in between each thing that I'm going to type up. Now, what you want to put in your annotated bibliography is a summary. You want to put a description of what that research paper or that reference actually says and then what it means for your research. So I'm going to put in there so you guys can see the kinds of things that you should have. So then it'll kind of look like an annotated bibliography entry, but it's not. It's going to have a generalization of what you should have in that entry, and it's not going to be written as though it was that entry. Because you guys don't care about the biomarker stuff today. You want to know about the annotated bibliography. All right, so the important things, you need to have that citation. That is one of the most important things. It gives you all the information about the publication. It gives you the title. It gives you the date, which is really important because that can help you know if that citation is really relevant. It also gives you the authors, which is also very informative. So what you're going to do is summarize that. One thing that you need to make sure that you record is the purpose. Why did the author do this study? What were they hoping to discover? The next thing that you need to know is if they explicitly stated any assumptions. If there's anything that they assumed to be true or held constant, those are things that are really important to know. Because if you're going to piggyback off their research, you need to know what things that they assumed. All right, the next thing that we need to have is what methods did they use? You don't need to write a really long and detailed analysis. It's okay to say they used a survey, they collected specimens and counted things, they grew plants by however they grew the plants, and then measured whatever they measured. You're just trying to make a really general statement about what the test was. You want enough detail there that you know what's important and different about their test, but you don't necessarily need to have enough information that you could repeat it exactly. That's why the paper exists, and you're just writing a summary. All right, the next thing, you need to know what they concluded. This is going to be an important thing to understand about what each study accomplished. So once they got to the end, they started with a purpose. Where did they end up? What did they resolve? Did they show that their hypotheses were true? What relationships did they show? Just make a general statement about what they found. So another way to think about this is if you were going to say something like so and so discovered that blah blah blah, like what's the blah blah blah. All right, so once we know once we know what they concluded, the last little piece that we need to know, and this is really super important, how is this study relevant to what you are investigating? What does this study have to do with what it is you're interested in looking at? Is it that you have a similar purpose, but you went a completely different way? Do you like their methods, and are you thinking that you're going to modify them for your own use? Um, do their conclusions imply something about your study that you need to pay attention to? Uh, you need to think about, what does this have to do with what you're studying? Because that might help you be able to identify patterns in previous work that's already been accomplished. All right, so another thing is that it's possible that if you're doing an engineering project, you may have found references that you want to use that are not research papers. They're documents that are related to the equipment that you're using, or something that has to do with the device. If you have that case, for your annotated bibliography, what you should do is do your best to come up with an APA citation for your publication. That's a little bit trickier. Sometimes you end up citing it as though it's a website. So keep that in mind. There's a website called Purdue OWL, the online writing lab, that's really great for helping you identify how to cite things, that I highly recommend. But for your description at the bottom, like this stuff doesn't make any sense, right? If it's a technical book, then there's no study to describe, so all of these things kind of fall by the wayside. So what you want to do there is focus on, how is this document relevant to your interests, and what are the most important parts of it, and you're going to want to write things. So the reason to pay attention to your annotated bibliography is because this is going to become the foundation for your introduction. You're going to, if you write this in your own words and you do it in a thoughtful way, you'll be able to draw from this, and sometimes very directly, to be able to write the introduction part of your paper. So I hope that helps. That annotated bibliography step is a really good one. It's one of those things that seems like it's not a requirement. Why are we doing this? I'm never going to show anybody my annotated bibliography, but it saves you a lot of time with your paper writing down the road. So I hope that you have a great day and you stay safe and you be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.